Be kind. Rewind. This is Dope Nostalgia.
I am so excited about that new intro. Oh my goodness, like I'm stoked hard on that intro. I want to thank the people who helped make that happen and all the people who've been doing some voice work for me for the show, doing like some of the commercials and the social media drops. And yeah, first of all, I want to thank both Scott Parsons and Mike Brezzo. Mike did the production on that. He mastered it for me, and Scott was the voice. I want to thank him. I want to thank Jason Hilderman for doing my analog commercials. I want to thank Colin Krieger for doing my social media drops, and James P. White as well for the intro to This Is Fucking Stupid. So I'm just like, I'm so excited about all the great work they've done to help out the podcast. And I can barely talk myself right now, so I'm glad they're doing it for me. I'm so excited to bring you this episode today, featuring a band that I was super stoked on as a teenager. I'd say I discovered them in the mid-90s. They were in Metal Edge magazine all the time. They were on David Letterman. Donnie V and the Boys are truly what it means to be a power pop band. They had such a Beatles sensibility to their music and their melody, and I was hooked instantly. When I first got into the band, it was basically because an older friend I had a crush on, who's just a little bit older than me, was really into the band. So he told me about them, but then I was like, oh, well, I love this group. This music is incredibly good. Very amazing pop hooks, dynamic band. They're called Enuff. Their former lead singer, Donnie V, spent some time talking with me about the things they went through in the 90s and until now, and especially what's going on in his life with his solo career. So I want to welcome Donnie V to the show, and I want to tell you a little bit about Enuff.
Wikipedia moments.
Enuff is an American rock band from Blue Island, Illinois, founded by singer Donnie V and bassist Chip Z'Nuff. It's a pronunciation respelling of the phrase "enough's enough." The Chicago area band is best known for their charting singles Fly High Michelle and this one, New Thing. Enuff has continually recorded and toured throughout their career of more than 30 years, releasing 14 studio albums and 22 CDs to date. Their songs have been recorded by several other musicians, including Paul Gilbert, The Wild Hearts, and Nelson. The group has appeared on MTV, Howard Stern, and David Letterman. In addition to their independent label releases, their music has been released on the major labels Atco Records and Arista Records. Enuff formed in 1984 as Enough is Enough. Well, different spelling. The band grew a live following and recorded their first demo songs, some of which would be officially released later in their career. The band's first single, Fingers on It, received some minor recognition when it was featured in the 1986 cult movie Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Band members during this period were also included drummer B.W. Boski and guitarist Gino Martino and Alex Kane, the latter of which moved on to lead guitars for Life, Sex, and Death, and eventually formed the band Anti-Products. By 1989, Enuff had revised their band name, spelling, and released their first major label offering, a self-titled debut album on Atco Records. For this recording, founding members Donnie and Chip were joined by ex-Le Mans guitarist Derek Frigo and drummer Vic Fox. The band had two charting hits with the psychedelic-flavored rock pop songs New Thing and Fly High Michelle, both of which received steady airplay on MTV. A few years later, the band's heavy glam rock appearance in the music videos would be parodied on Beavis and Butthead. Frontman Donnie V has expressed disappointment that the label marketed the group as a glam metal act during this period instead of a power pop group, which he considered to be a better descriptor of their sound, and suggested that the group would have retained their popularity had they been promoted as such. For their follow-up album, 1991's Strength, the band consciously toned down their glam image. Strength was released on Atco Records to strong reviews, including Rolling Stone magazine calling the group the hot band of the year. There were promotional videos for the singles Mother's Eyes and Baby Loves You, as well as an appearance on Late Show with David Letterman. However, this follow-up album did not sell as nearly well as the first. So then the band files for bankruptcy, leaves Atco Records, but soon was picked up by Clive Davis and Arista Records label for 1993's album Animals with Human Intelligence, which we talk about a lot in this interview because this is the album I discovered the band on and I absolutely enjoy it to this day. Some lineup changes have happened over the years. The band released a lot more great music, and they're still doing their thing, but without Donnie. Donnie's working on his solo career now, and he's here to tell us all about his new music and his experiences. Donnie's got an amazing YouTube channel. You can search him on and see all the cool videos he's been putting out and the new material. He's very active on social media. And you can go to DonnieV.com, spelled DonnieVie.com. What a guy. Absolutely loves talking with him. Welcome Donnie V to the show. Absolutely. It's an honor to be talking with you today. Of course, the king of power pop. Welcome, Donnie. This podcast is about the 90s primarily, but I really want to focus on what you're doing now as well.
Okay.
So I know that I went through a massive fandom with you guys when Animals with Human Intelligence came out. That was the album I discovered you on. And then I explored the back catalog. So tell me the story of that album and the writing and production of Animals with Human Intelligence.
Animals was, let me think. Some of that, well, that was, we had just left Echo Atlantic. We had to get off that label after Strength record, and found out that there was nothing we could do, that we were going to kind of be stuck on a shelf no matter how great a record that we put out, because of the way the labels and everything was going and what was coming in and what was going out. We kind of got shipped out with the 80s stuff, even though our record came out in November of 89, you know, so we caught it by a month. And so when we left Echo Atlantic, we were shopping for a new label, new major label, and there was two main labels in the running. One was Geffen, with John Cologner, who reinvented Aerosmith and stuff like that, and he wanted to reinvent us and break it all down from scratch to scratch, you know, which would have been the move to make. But his pitch was basically, it'll be a year before we'll even have an album, and you know, probably done. And we had all these songs already, and we had considered ourselves ready as far as song-wise, but you know, the way he operates, very professional. He'd give you the best, you know, which would have been, like I said, would have been the move to make. And then there's Clive Davis over at Arista, who basically signed the band for the song Innocence, and which is a ballad, and that's all he cared about. And he asked me, could I write him another power ballad for the record? And I went home and wrote Right By Your Side like that night, and demoed it out, sent that back to him. He was like, oh my God, it's great. And so when we went, we were getting ready to do the record, and Clive had hired a producer for all he had for just two songs, Right By Your Side, Innocence. Said, you can produce the rest of the record yourselves. It's whatever you got, you know, I trust you, whatever material, this and that, all sounds great. And so that was the first indication that all he cared about was, he didn't care about the band. He had no rock market, no rock network or anything like that, no radio for rock and roll. It was all Whitney Houston and shit like that. And so that was the first indication that he probably wanted me to, you know, go solo. And, you know, I was getting all these little hints all over from different label people and stuff, you know, and asking me, had I ever considered that and stuff. And at that time, I was still, you know, pretty loyal to my band, and so I, you know, declined a lot of those little hints and stuff, played stupid. And the record, there's some of the songs where, you know, I'm a writing machine. Once I started writing, and Chip and I started writing together, like for the first record, I just, you know, because I had been, basically, I was just a kid. And by the time we recorded our first record, I was, you know, really, really young, and I hadn't really done it. Enuff Z'Nuff was my first band that I was even in. And so my writing, once I found that niche of that sort of sound, that power pop thing, my writing took off, and I started writing them like this, you know, like fast as shit. And so we always have had a big back catalog of stuff, you know, to choose from, which made it difficult sometimes to make records. And then once you're in there making a record, you're in that creative zone, so you have a tendency to start writing some right there in the studio. At least I do.
Yeah.
And so some of them were like, there's a couple that we had, you know, kind of laying around, and for the band's sake, you know, the band was a rock band, and they would, and you know, I'm a real pop star, and Chip's pretty much a pop star too, but they like that the rock band heavy kind of thing, like Superstitious and Black Rain and stuff, which aren't really my favorites. I've had those sitting around for a while, and
I love the verse on Superstitious. I've like it's not too heavy in the verse, but I really like that part of it the most. Actually.
Yeah, it was written actually before the first record, and I always thought of it as compared to some of the more indulgent stuff and some of the, you know, just I always thought of it as pretty basic and kind of a shortcut to what we do, but a lot of people did like it, and so you know, luckily it was on there, and just for the sake of you. And you know, I always thought of it as kind of like a little rip on Stevie Wonder, and I just can't stand plagiarism. I never have done anything like that, you know. And
yeah.
And so, you know, Superstitious. But then like One Step Closer to You, like I said, I just wrote Right by Your Side. Bring It On Home, Chip and I wrote, and I was in the rehearsal space and came up with the riff to like Taking a Ride. And those songs started to materialize, and it's just, you know, Love Train and stuff, they all started flowing, and it was a real upbeat poppy record with a couple of these heavy things on there. And when we went on with David Letterman, we were supposed to do either Right by Your Side or Innocence, I forget which one, and Clive wanted us to do, and we ended up, the band and our manager at the time was like, no, we're a rock band, we're going to play something rocking on there, and not just basically featuring just Donnie and stuff. And so they made the call to do Superstitious. I went along with it and sang, and we did a good job with it, really good. But you know, that was kind of it's not a smart move to do when somebody like Clive Davis says do this, and then you make a move like that, you know. But it was you know, the record was basically just written like the earlier days, just with, you know, once Strength came, I started really taking over the writing, you know, as regardless of what other people might have to say about it, you know what I mean? And I basically took over the writing, and Animals was kind of that same situation, you know, a couple written in the studio at the time, and just that energy. And you know, after the Animals record, things, I started, you know, writing almost most of this stuff all by myself, and then we get together and record it and stuff. But yeah, that was like the last real band effort. And right after Vicky Fox, who played drums on the first three records, right after we finished the record, he finished his drum tracks, he split and joined Vince Neil, which I guess was his plan all along. But he was a liar snake of a piece of shit of a dude, and he would always lie, and you never knew where you stood with him. And so we got another drummer, and from there on in, Ricky Parent was like the drummer for all the way up until he'd passed away, and then Dissonance was Vinny Costello. But yeah, that's there's not much else to say about. It was the last giant budget record. You know, we're looking at probably between that and the video and stuff, you know, $500,000, and you know, which is ridiculous nowadays, because I can make a record right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, it just, you know, it's all boils down to the songs and the vocal, you know, the lead singer's voice, and which I guess I have a pretty unique sounding voice, and people
Absolutely.
seem to like it. And so that was, you know, that's the last big budget shit, you know. And then even the Richie Zito stuff that he's hired to produce, we did new versions of those songs, and Clive didn't like them as well as he liked the demos that I had just recorded on my little 8-track machine. So those ended up being on the record, the actual demos, just replaced with real drums and stuff. And so that was another $40,000 down, you know, for nothing, you know. But it was a fun experience making the record because we did it out in California, a lot of it. Well, at least the Zito sessions and stuff, which turned out to be these days, ended up getting produced there. And I wrote a couple there, and there was one or two songs that went on the Peach Fuzz record that went on Spare Time that I started tracking. And right across the street was Crazy Girls, the strip club. And right across the street, right outside the gate. And I was a little bit, I was still riding the party pretty hard, and go over there and hang out. It was a really fun time, a really fun vibe. I was borrowed that band Nelson's 64 and a half ragtop Mustang. I had that out there, and I kind of, the main stripper fell in love with me. And so I had all of the strippers hanging with me. They're all over at the studio. And that's why I wrote Master of Pain for them to dance. And they were all dancing to it across the street and stuff. And that's the only reason I wrote that song. But it was a really fun time. And after that, the unity and just the feel of a band and that feel of togetherness and that feel of this is going to be really successful. That was gone right after that, when the disasters and shit that happened with that record and that label and Clive Davis and so then it just became the downward spiral of the darkness, and I went head over heels into drugs and shit. And but the creativity has always been there, despite I would say even the drugs might have even been a useful tool in a lot of the writing. Wow. The inspiration and just to have that energy in it, instead of sitting around, smoking pot, and watching TV and going to sleep and eating, I'd be up for a week and creative and want to get in that studio and get things done. And, but yeah, I'm sorry, that is the answer to your question.
No, absolutely. Now,
probably the answer to a bunch of them.
I mean, I had so many thoughts throughout what you're talking about, especially about when you go from recording to a major label and the heyday that was, and then now you have more freedom. The money might not be there backing you, but you have freedom to record what you want and the ability to do it right at home, like you said. So I think when all you really need is a good recording room and a good microphone, and everything else you can just do from there.
Yeah, the main ingredient is the songs and having a good singer. And I've just been blessed. I've been lucky with that. And like I said with the Animals, I mean, just to send Clive, that's its first days of CDs and stuff, and just to send Clive his daily roughs to listen to had to be burned on CD, insisted on. Those were $500 a piece. That's just to tell you what kind of budget was going on. And the big food, I'd look out in the control room while I'm singing or something. I'd see some chef come wheeling a cart into the control room, with a chef hat on and stuff. I'd see just something flambe, flames and stuff in there. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And road crew, everybody ordering something. And it was just a ridiculous waste of money. And we kind of didn't have really embraced the concept that we were actually paying for that stuff. And but with the Arista record, Clive ended up just to make everything easy, and because his lack of giving a fuck anymore after things went the way it did, it was all we didn't owe him nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're paying for all that stuff, but you never asked for it in the end.
Well, a lot of the stuff was a requirement in those days for a major label. You know what I mean? You got to go, and you didn't have this kind of setups or anything like that. There was home recording machines. There were actually machines with tape and stuff, or there was, and if you made a record, you did that in the big studios. And the big studios at that time held all the cards, you know what I mean? And the big, huge tape machines and stuff like that, and the big control room and the desk and all that stuff and all the outboard gear, and having to have an engineer and a producer, all that stuff, and assistants to set things up and all that shit like that. Mm-hmm. So you had, that was just the industry standard protocol if you were signed to a major label making a big record. But we rarely ever had a producer. I think it was with one record Strength where we hired a producer, and it's evident. You can hear that there's a difference in different vibe and a different vision to it. but that still was basically, you know, a lot me.
Yeah. Well, your sense of musicality is unreal. Like your ability to write a hook, the melody. I think one of my favorite examples of that would be the song Goodbye. I mean, just the interesting chord choices you make too. Like I absolutely love that song.
Pretty simple and basic chord structure. You know, at the time, I just remember the one line, now we're sleeping in separate beds, is something that kind of, you know, chicks and stuff would hear that one line and stuff like that. And I was going through a nasty breakup at the time and stuff like that. But once I got out there to LA, I didn't care about the breakup anymore. You know what I mean? All the ongoings and stuff out there. So
the thing that gets me is like musically is that chorus when you go, took its toll on our love. That part there is just.
Oh, you're a singer. You're a singer.
I'm a singer. But yeah.
Sing the chorus. I'll sing it the harmony.
If the Zoom delay, hey? Now time has took its toll on our love.
We can't do it. There is a Zoom delay. No.
But still, yeah.
Better than Chip's harmony on it. Nah, yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You're a singer, huh?
Yeah, I'm a singer. And yeah, I got a lot of inspiration as a writer too from the stuff you were doing at the time. Thank you. I mean,
well, you had to have been a baby.
I grew up on that.
You had to have been a baby. You don't look like you're probably in your 20s right now.
I'm 41.
Really? You're shitting me.
Yeah.
Well,
so I would have
time has been good to you.
Thank you. I think I would have been 13, 14 at that time. But yeah, I mean, as a budding writer, what you were doing really meant a lot to me. So it's good to be able to express that with you. And
pretty woman drive me out of my head. She said a lot of things she shouldn't have said, and I know the feelings for her in my heart are dead. 'Cause now we're sleeping in separate beds. Now that the blues turn to gray, now that our hearts long to stray, there's nothing warm, there's nothing true. With every stage kiss goodnight, I guess it's better than suicide. Not touching me, not touching you. Now time has took its toll on our love, and there is no magic in it left. And the only words that I can think of are goodbye.
from that Animals album, though, what would have your favorite track have been? Like,
On
I like the
Animals?
deep cuts. I like the deep cuts. I always want to know what
On
everyone's favorite.
Animals, I don't know. I would have. There's a bunch that I really liked on it. Of course, Innocence, because that meant a lot to me. Because I wrote that. You know, I raised my little sisters when they were babies and stuff. And when I had to go off and be a rock star and everything, that I wasn't there for some crucial years and things like that. So I kind of wrote that for them. You know, as you're getting to be a woman now, you're going to be fucking and this and that, and it's like you know that song. So that meant something to me, and that one I really thought was came together really cool. But like stuff like One Step Closer to You, or you know, and they write themselves very quickly. And then These Days I really liked, and that was a collaboration of Chip and mine. And
That's
like, I didn't like Rockin' World too much, but I liked Love Train.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of lyrics in Love Train. There's not even a break to take a break. I mean, that one you'd have to struggle with, you know.
Well, the art of writing the hook kind of seems to be lost right now, I find, in music.
You think?
Yeah, putting it mildly. So,
Well, you know, the main thing is what I would consider to be a good song is if if you can sit there with a guitar or a piano or something and play the song and sing it. Now nowadays, that's getting to be rare because they're not written that way. They're written by a team of people or something like that.
True.
The production, like they'll write a part and then maybe sing the chorus one time, and then in production and mixing and stuff, they'll fly it in and stuff, and everything's perfected and, you know, all tuned. The vocals are tuned and you know, there's just a lot of parts and you just basically couldn't pick up a guitar and just play and sing the song. Those days are, you know, drum sets are kind of extinct. Guitars are starting to be extinct, and it's all these weird sounds and loops and samples. And you know, there'll be a hook, but the hooks they're different. It's not like the hooks of like the Beatles days or something like that. The hooks are some one line that's just repeated over and over and over and over again, and
it doesn't make the hook special. There's no climactic point.
With the audience and the people well, right. It's like if you're fucking somebody that you just started jackrabbing, right? Or just, you know, just maybe like what do they call it? Warm-up sex, you know, a little oral sex and this and that. That continues all the way to the end. There's no fucking, you know what I mean? There's no spinning around with the legs up in the air and this and that. It's just like, you know, finger banging and this and that all the way through. And it's just, there's no dynamics, you know?
Yes, exactly. Dynamics are missing. I even miss modulation. Like I miss the key change. That doesn't happen anymore.
I don't know if we did that. I think we did that on I Can Never Be Without You, but I think that might have been the only song that we ever did that with. You know, it's kind of a song has to really, like I let a song tell me what it wants to be. You know what I mean? And most of them, the good ones, the effective ones, when the idea comes, I can pretty much hear the song already, you know, with the idea and the vowels and syllables and stuff. And when you let a song tell you what it wants to be, which is you know, sitting down to write a song. All right, let's sit down and write a song today. That's never worked for me. And I don't think that really is successful for a lot of people. It's like I did a presentation for this country music songwriters thing like a week ago, and I'm reading the entries, and there's like 4 or 5 writers on every song. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that with 4 or 5 writers? I mean, I can't stand when there's one other guy getting involved. And like Beautiful Things was the very first record where I've actually got to take it out on the highway and open it up and see what I could actually do and paint my clear vision, because everything else, Enuff's Enough days, there's other things that you had to cater to. You had to, there was no restrictions. And I did a couple other solo records, but still, I was still dealing with that. But I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, no, basically it's like, basically we started with the hook and how it's kind of like, I don't really like the idea of 5 people writing a song either, because it just takes all the soul right out of it. Or if there was any soul in it to begin with. One person may have had a good idea, but all the heads in there, I think it's too much. It's
a real good example of that there just aren't any. It's like in the older days, starting from the 50s and stuff like that, what would happen is the next generation will be influenced by the previous generation and take it from there and pick up from there. Mm-hmm. And but that stopped happening about mid 90s. Like all of the rock sounded exactly the same. I couldn't tell you one band from another, minus Nirvana, STP, things like that, where you got that recognizable singer, there's all of them. So you lost that. Then rap came in, which is a crime, because the Motown and the black and the soul and stuff was some of my favorite shit. That's a big influence in my writing. So that was gone. You know what I mean? You got guys like Kanye West that basically can't sing, can't play an instrument, and he's like outselling Paul McCartney in concerts and stuff like that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But writing with that many guys, I know personally how many guys have been, in efforts to do that, have been ended up pretty bent out of shape by the end of writing the song,
Yeah.
But guys just they'll still get their name on there and this and that, and it just distracts for me. Distracts from the vision, and like I said, I let the song tell me what it wants to be, not this guy or that guy or this guy. You know what I mean? You obviously don't know what the fuck. You know what I mean? At least for something I'm going to sing and do. But yeah, I mean, that made too many cooks in the kitchen. Spoiling the.
Yeah. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, that all stopped happening. You know what I mean? Now we've just kind of reached a lull, and it's just the pop market has turned into this one thing where they all sound the same and look the same. It's just a different face per song, and the rap stuff is, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's just so burnt out. I mean, remember the first rap stuff, like like the one that everybody would know the words to, and it was rhythmic.
The hip hop, the hibbit to the hip, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like the first ones where it's rhythmic, and everybody would know the words, and it's like, then they get into, yeah, man, I'm going to fuck the police now, we're going to cook up some crack, and this, I got my money, and all, killing people and hate speech, but nothing has changed. Nothing has evolved now, and anything that resembles classic rock and classic music doesn't stand a chance anymore. It's like it's the machine. It's the business music now instead of the music business. You don't have DJs, picking what they like, and that's what made a great DJ is the music that he would choose and his tastes and styles, and he present it and play it out there, and people got a chance to choose. And now it's just an oversaturation of like YouTube and all that shit. Like, you can't sell a record because as soon as it's out, somebody puts it up there, and then, nobody's going to buy it because they can listen to it for free. And there's a million different, some chick eating a pickle, making the sounds, like different things like that, crazy stuff. It's huge, catches on viral. And somebody like me, I'm scratching and clawing to get 10,000 views, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how good you are anymore. It just doesn't, which is a shame.
Another thing I miss is stuff like Metal Edge magazine.
Oh, Jerry Miller.
Yeah.
Jerry
Actually,
Miller
I've been trying to get
awesome.
I'm trying to get a hold of her. I'd like to have her on as a guest. But
if you get a hold of her, would you give her my email? Because I miss Jerry. We got to be good pals, you know what I mean? And in those days, you couldn't open one of those magazines without us being in it, but Jerry's was great. She would come out on the, out in the bus with you for a week or something like that, and she got to, be friends, and she was a true fan. You know what I mean? She was a fan.
She was a real champion for everybody to be successful in rock music. Like right. I mean, obviously journalism was different before the internet. So I can understand why she'd be with the bands all the time. It was probably the only way to really get the proper story written.
Yeah, well, a lot of the interviews that I'm doing a lot of them lately, and I'll be doing a hell of a lot more after the single and stuff. And, I get sometimes I feel the vibe of sometimes these guys aren't even hip to what I do. You know what I mean? It's just like another, oh, okay, I'll do Donnie B or this and that. Somebody will tell him, hey, the guy's a good artist or he's a good interview. Because I'm usually, a decent interview. I don't have 2-word answers and stuff like that, and I know what I'm talking about. But like your questions and things like that, it's a pleasure to do an interview like this, You should do video though, because you're gorgeous and
oh, thank you.
And I set up the damn camera and everything for nothing.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I like having a real conversation about things that mattered to me and like all the things I've ever wanted to know about the music you've done. I mean, obviously. Now, one thing I was wondering about your relationship musically with the Beatles and how they have shaped your sound and your life. That was my education. That was the first music that I can remember even recognizing that I was listening to. I made a little close and play record player back in the old days. It was like a toy, and a couple of my uncles had, I forget what couple 45s that I played over and over and over again. And I was poor. We were poor. I didn't ever even have my own albums or own records or anything like that. I'd have to listen to other people's and stuff, but. My uncles, I would go on Christmas, I would take my cassette recorder and I'd record all of their albums. That's what I'd be doing in there. And so I just,
I was very insecure. I was a shy kid. Lived in a sort of abusive upbringing, and all the stereotype classic things that could be done to you were happening. And so I kind of lived in my own bubble, my own shell, where the Beatles, it just grabbed me. And hindsight is insight, is like there was a reason for that to happen in the end, because you could get a perfect education in how to structure, write, arrange, the vowels and syllables, the way certain words sing better than other words will sing, the way to phrase things and stuff, and and then production styles and stuff like that. Because in the short span of where they were making records together, it was like 7 years or something, and they went from Please Please Me all the way to Abbey Road, in 7 years, which is a hell of an evolution process. And you just, then I started adding different things later, but I didn't stray from the Beatles and like some certain things like the Jackson 5 and stuff like that, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Those were mixed in, and what I'd hear on the AM radio and stuff, but that, like their voices and everything, the planets aligned for the Beatles. It's just planets aligned, you know what I mean? All the way to the way their instruments looked and everything, but had a lot of impact on me, and I really didn't even experience it, but next generation looking back, and the farther we get in evolution, the less and less people know, or even, know what the Beatles are or care about the Beatles. And you could tell a lot about a person if they like the Beatles or don't like the Beatles. Somebody doesn't hates the Beatles, the dog probably doesn't like that person. I mean, there's something missing. There's a soul. There's some beauty in them that doesn't exist. But you could basically get a great education in that, and I did. And people always have a tendency to say, "Well, Donnie was so lucky. He, just born with this gift." But no, since 4 years old, I was studying and focused, and like I was in college. You know what I mean? And everything else was outside of this thing. Nothing else mattered. I never lost my vision. I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to be a good artist, which was my only goal. I never had a goal to be a famous rock star or rich or anything like that. I wanted to write songs that had the same effect on the listeners as that shit did on me. And just like you said, which is the greatest compliment, that that was a lot that had to do with your musical stylings and stuff. That's the greatest compliment you could get. So my dream came true.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what you guys were doing at that point, I didn't even know much about the Beatles at that point in my life, but you guys were that for me, as well as other bands, but definitely you guys.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Podcasting is so much fun, but it's kind of expensive too. We got to pay for stuff like licensing fees, hosting fees, long distance phone calls, etc., etc. You get the drill? Okay. Well, we have a new thing called Patreon. Now, Dope Nostalgia has a Patreon account where you can subscribe to premium content. And what that means for you is for the very low starting price of $1 a month, you'll be able to get the podcast 2 days in advance of the regular release. Not only that, $3 a month, you get exclusive video content just for you guys to check out, bonus stuff all the time that you don't get with the regular show. So check it out, patreon.com/dope nostalgia. Become a subscriber today and get all the good perks.
It's Christmas, and while other stores are busy going, ho, 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 Wilco's busy chipping away at their prices. Here's proof.
When you care enough to send the very best, Hallmark's assorted box of 30 cards and envelopes is just $5.98 at Wilco.
Keep going.
Sleep tight in our wide selection of boys' licensed pajamas or men's flannel or broadcloth pajamas, now just $13.99.
Here's the proof. Nice work. Take Christmas off. Till noon.
Now, to focus on what you've been doing now, last year you put out an album, right?
Yeah, Beautiful Things,
Beautiful
which
Things.
that's like the best work I've ever done. And that's another thing a lot of artists, I mean, how many artists can say, now I've done over 20 records, right? With and without the band.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a policy with myself that my next record has to be, as good or better than my last record, and continue to evolve and not repeat myself with anything, no plagiarism, and to continue to grow, and because I have to love it or I won't release it. And still to this day, Beautiful Things is my best work yet, where I feel like I got everything perfect. There's no explanation that goes along with anything. There's no, I wish I'd have done this or I wished I'd have done that. Everything I consider perfect. And now I luckily I had another wave of writing right after I almost died in the hospital. And
I was going to ask you, what happened with your health scare there?
my pancreas finally melted.
Oh, geez.
For all the years of abuse to my body and stuff like that, and then just the pancreas went. Wasn't very familiar with even the pancreas. What does that do? Is that like this and that? And so it melted on me, and I was in the hospital. Had the doctor, have that talk with me, get your affairs in order and this and that. You're probably not going to make it through this. And I knew that I would, there was no doubt in my mind. I never doubted for a second that I'd live through it. But this huge creative wave came over me when I got out of there after a month. Like a month in there, I lost 35 pounds, and I'm not fat to begin with. And when I got out, 2 days after I hit the ground running, 2 days after I was out of the hospital, I was shooting parts of the video for this Instant Karma that I ended up tracking, John Lennon's song. Yeah. And I can tell now, people are like, maybe you might want to wait a little bit. I'm like, no, I got to get to work. I've been sitting here for a month. I hadn't had a bite of food, a drink of water, anything, just tubes in me and this and that, and couldn't eat anything or nothing like that. And I just hit the ground running, and like a wave of songs came over me, and I demoed and tracked about 15 really strong songs, which will continue to evolve, and they're a step above Beautiful Things. But Beautiful Things, we never got every single thing that could go fucking wrong went wrong with the poor record, from Pledge Music, where they stole all the money and left, and then the shitty little label that I ended up having to go on, which I'm in the process of buying out of right now to get that record back away from them. Wow. So I just got my whole catalog back, because nothing's ever been been properly or given any love or shown anything, you know, well, what was I saying? But, you know, with the pandemic and everything, we're just getting ready to go out and tour with it, you know, and I got all those other records. So we're talking about a 3-hour show, you know, and I'm not going to tour per se, like get in a van or this and that and go out every night. And you got Tuesday or Monday through Thursday playing in these dumps for less than $1,000 a night just to pay for gas or because you're already out there and shit. And, you know, I don't feel that I deserve to have to do that anymore. And I got enough of, you know, I'm doing kind of making events and stuff. And there was quite a few starting to get lined up. And then the pandemic hit and we weren't even able to support the damn record. And so that's where I decided that I wasn't ready to give up on it and record a whole new record yet. First of all, because that's finances and stuff like that. So I was going to go release singles, and that's my plan up until possibly negotiating a deal right now with a label that just picked up the whole Enuff catalog and, you know, is going to take my solo catalog and stuff. And so singles is the way that I'm going. And so I just, you know, I'm releasing one. I've been holding it up and holding it up and holding it up. And then I decided this next song is called Party Time. And it's like the song I've been trying to write my whole career, where it still has the integrity and the sound and the style of what I do, but has that mass hook appeal where you could use it and sing it at a sports thing or it could be a commercial for something or this and that. And needs a proper video. And so, you know, spending a lot of money and a lot of effort on this and had to get it away from the label as well. And, you know, that's ugly and that's messy, but yeah, well, I don't know what we even started talking about on this, but like you only need 2 questions for me for an interview.
It's fantastic. But once that single is out, I want to be able to share it with all of our listeners as well. Probably have you back at that time if you're free. But
always free for Pretty Girl.
What's been happening now with Enuff's Enuff? Because I saw and I listened to they put out an album and you did a song with them again. Well,
I didn't I went through a whole period of completely breaking down and getting all of the needed help that I needed to for all of those years to finally, you know, it started off with me getting arrested for something, and I spent, you know, a few months in jail, and then I was offered this program, adult treatment court program, and they were nervous because I was in a whole different state and stuff. The kind of hillbillies kidnapped me and held me without ransom, but it was they were expecting a real handful to deal with, and I turned out to be their star picture of, because I needed it, I wanted it. And so during that time, because I just left the band and we had, you know, finally things just couldn't deal with it anymore and differences and just lunacy, you know what I mean? And just ridiculous shit. And so there was a, you know, falling out between Chip and myself. He just continued to go on, you know, again for the second time with a different singer and these other guys. So he's out there playing. It's just Chip, the bass player, and a bunch of guys that haven't played one note on any of the records and stuff. And I never dreamt in a million years. I knew he would be doing that. I never dreamt that he would make a record, Enuff's Enuff record. You know what I mean? After all of his predecessors, and it left off with Dissonance, like the best record, Enuff's Enuff record, and him to put out another record, you know, and I know his sound. I know what he writes on his own. I know what he sounds like and singing himself and stuff. And so, you know, it was a shortcut to thinking as far as I was concerned. And then there was other stuff that really, I felt violated, really bent me out of shape. And then I find out he's putting out another one. And I'm like, this is crazy, you know? I mean, it's like, yeah, we definitely don't want to work together, but as far as making a record for the fans and for the integrity of the band and stuff, you know, people want to hear my voice, want to hear that songwriting and stuff, you know, and which I put it out there to him, said, I'm willing to do that, to contribute. You know, I mean, it's not that even difficult because I can do my work here and send it to you and you can do your stuff where you're at and send it back. And like, and then with the pandemic and stuff, with animosity, but this deal came about that this whole Clea bought up our whole entire Enuff Snuff catalog, which was great because now it's all under one roof, and no one's paid us anything throughout the years. You just you don't know anything that's going on. There's a huge collection of catalog of songs and stuff, and so we started talking a little bit, and and all the bullshit and all the fucking hatred and all that shit that I had and he probably had didn't get into the conversation until after we've been on the phone for 45 minutes where we're laughing and catching up and talking about this and that, like the brother that I had all those years, and then there's always the lunacy and the ridiculous that I consider just,
Yeah.
but with the pandemic then, it's like nobody knew exactly. People are dropping like flies, and I thought to myself, it's possible I might never see this guy again. He's 5 years older than me, and I'm old as fuck. You know what I mean? So that makes him, and so I put it out there. I said, well, listen, I'm willing to at least if you're going to do this, I'm willing to contribute a song, so the fans will get one song, of what they're used to, and and something that. And I figured that he might use that as the single, but he didn't. No? And so it kind of never even really talked about it or anything. But eventually we started doing interviews, just like when I was doing interviews. You're hit with that question. You didn't ask it until now on this thing, but that was like a big question. But I mean,
Is it hard to approach those questions though? No.
Yeah, I'll answer anything. There's nothing that I won't. I'm uninhibited and uncensored. And but we're on better terms now, and and that possibilities are open for different things now. But he has a different vision, and he's content with opening for cock rock bands and these shitty little tours and stuff where he gets to be the main guy and stuff. And but obviously the agenda has changed. It's what agenda do you have? You know what I mean? If you're not interested in the integrity of the band, you're not interested in what the fans want or care about. It's like, you got to question that. But at least that door is open now as where it was nailed shut. And, I'd be willing to, get involved to a greater capacity, but which I imagine he'll kind of probably, his mind will have changed now after these 2 records and stuff, and having to sit there and during the pandemic and not really get out and tour and play, which is all he wants to do, and he's making shit money, with the band and stuff. And it's devalued the name down to where they're not making anything. And as opposed to if I proposed to him, if we got together and played like a big Chicago show, one big New York show, one big California show, go over and do a couple nights in Europe, stuff, you can charge $5 to $10 grand for a show, you know what I mean? Which would take him, plus merchandise and everything, it'll take him fucking 2 weeks to make that, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, it's too demoralizing. It's too bad, too hard on your sobriety and all that stuff, and I just feel it's just worth more than that. And so I'd be willing to contribute more, and I imagine he'll probably be come knocking at my door after the success of his new record.
You don't dig love in me no more. We used to make it long and slow. I've cried so long my eyes are sore. I see it's time to let you go. It ain't no good if it don't feel good, real good. It still felt good to me. But if you feel you should, it's understood. Go where you should. Take everything.
Enough's Enuff has had to deal with their share of tragedy in the band. In May 2004, their former lead guitarist, Derek Frigo, passed away from a drug overdose at the age of 36. Then their drummer of 12 years, Ricky Parent, lost his battle with cancer in October 2007. Now, with losing Ricky and Derek, and my condolences to all of you guys in the band over their losses. How did you all deal with that and what they went through, and how does the band? How do you, as people, go forward after that kind of thing?
Well, Derek, I basically stopped, just refused to play with him anymore after the Animals record. I just didn't. I never felt that his style and what he sounded. I mean, amazing guitar player. And any band that I felt that he should be in should revolve around his talents and stuff, and then somebody apply their thing to what he does, not trying to get him to play. That's like getting Richie Blackmore to be in the Beatles or something like that. It just doesn't make any sense. And just, with the toxicity of both of our drug issues and drug problems and stuff, it was just toxic. And I remember just finally firing him. And so I hadn't seen him for I think it would have been over 10 years until I'd run into him in California. And he had just gotten out of rehab, and we started talking. And I'd never known Derek sober or anything like that, maybe for a day here and there, but I'd never known him sober. And it was a whole different guy. And I was like, we should pick this up a little, because I wasn't in Enough anymore at that point, because I'd left for 6 years back then too. And so he was sort of still friends with Vic. And so we kind of got together and played a couple of jam things at, I think it was a Cat Club. And then they had there was a band called Steel Panther that plays out in California. And, like 80s bands or stuff like that would open at the Viper Room, would open for them. And that's where you would get a good crowd and stuff. And Enuff was opening for them. And they had me banned from the club and everything, and I went in there because I had Vic and Derek, and, and they played. And then we were in the club, and what's his name? The singer, he called us up, me and Derek and Vic. And he was pissed at Chip because he wouldn't call me let me in the club. And we went up there and did a new thing and Fly Michelle, and the place went crazy. Yeah. And that was kind of a, take that, motherfucker. And so we had played together a couple of performances now, and that was really bittersweet, because after we did that, all of a sudden, he kind of had a little bit of the key to the city again. And the next time I'd seen him, I invited him over to let's do some writing. Let's try to record a tune or something. And he came over, and I could tell that everything was different again. I could see that look, and I knew that vibe. And I was like, I can't. I was married at the time, and my relationship was really rocky, and I couldn't be going into that shit. Mm-hmm. And so I screened him out the next day when he was, from that night. The next day he's calling, dude, pick up the phone, man, it's Derek, dude, this and that. And I screened him out like 3-4 times. And then I got a phone call like that late that afternoon, early evening, somebody asking me, is it true? And I'm like, what true? And that's where I found out that Derek was gone. And, up until that point though, it wouldn't have really been as shocking to me had I not just reconnected with the guy. But the Lord works in mysterious ways. We got a chance to work it out and and make peace with everything before he went. But that made it harder for me, And with Ricky, like I said, I had left the band for 6 years, and they went on to continue to play. So I always considered Ricky to be the drummer for Enuff Z'Nuff, because he was on the majority of the records. He's the one who was out scratching and clawing with us and stuff. Yeah. And then I wasn't in the band when he died, and so I really had lost touch with him. I didn't even talk to him in years, and so he passed away, and I hadn't spoken to him in like 6 years either. So, it was it wasn't like we're playing, we're in a band, this and that, and these guys die. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. So, but it is. I mourn Ricky later on in life. As I, you think about something, all of a sudden when it hits you, and. You know what I mean? But he's in good shape where he's at now, and he was struggling, and now I know his energy is around. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still located in Chicago? Is that your hometown?
Chicago area, suburb of Chicago. Yeah, I grew up in 15 minutes from here, in a place called Blue Island, And sounds a lot.
Yeah, welcome to
Yeah,
Blue
it sounds a
Island.
lot prettier than it is, trust me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up over there, and now I'm in a suburb. I'm not going to say exactly where I'm at, but
No, of course not.
but yeah, I'm right right back in town, which I hadn't lived back here since I moved away after I would say after like doing 7 or so. I moved away, and I've lived in California, I've lived in New York, I've even lived in England for a little while, I lived in Brazil for a little while, and then Texas, and and ultimately I got so bad that I tried to kill myself and woke up in the hospital, and I just kind of got shipped back to and was going on this European tour, acoustic tour with this guy, and I come back, get off the plane, and I got arrested and went through this whole thing. And so I had been scared to come back here. I had a lot of bad vibes. I had a lot of, my grandparents had died, all this shit. And, I still go into that old house and stuff. It's just, I get the creeps from it. It's just bad vibes for me. And so I hadn't lived here or even really been here in 15 years, but now I'm back here, and happy I've ever been in my life now. Right now, I'm in really good shape, physically, mentally. I'm old, but I'm happy. I'm in my beautiful
What's
studio
happening?
and stuff. My
Yeah, it
killer
looks
room,
great.
nice house, and got everything I could possibly need. And so, So
I'm happy to see you doing well. And I was going to say, Chicago, I've been there once. I went to see Extreme at the House of Blues back like 5 years ago. Yeah.
5 years ago, they're still playing again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All
Yeah.
original.
They've been trying to they're recording an album now. It should be done soon, but they were doing Porno Graffiti for its 25th anniversary in its entirety. So I flew from Canada down to see them and checked out Chicago for a couple days and got to have my first deep dish pizza. And
Oh, yeah. Well, that's thin crust is actually what we're most famous. I mean, you can't find bad pizza in the Chicago area, even the suburbs and stuff. You go anywhere else in the world, pizza sucks. You know what I mean? It's all Pizza Hut to me, and Extreme was almost, I think that was like the first or second national act that we'd ever played with, opened for. And that's before we even had a record deal or anything. We played with them.
oh yeah,
Nuno and Gary and stuff. Yeah, they were a great band. They even wrote and recorded a couple of songs that was right down my alley that I really
well, they're very melodic as well. They have a good they're like funky and heavy, but they're melodic too, and
Yeah.
that's the appeal for me.
I actually like Nuno's voice better than I like Gary's. You know what I mean?
They sound good
That's-
together.
Oh yeah.
They got that nice blend in their harmony.
They had More Than Words back when we were playing with them that they never recorded it. They considered that I don't know, didn't gel with what they were doing. But I remember them at Soundcheck playing More Than Words, just Nuno and Gary, and I was like, that's a fucking great. That's a smash. But they didn't record that till another couple of records, I do believe. And yeah, but that's cool. I'm glad that they're playing together again.
Where would you recommend a person coming to visit Chicago to check out? Where would you recommend?
Well, there's no rock clubs, so you can forget about that.
Right now.
I don't even know what's open anymore.
Let's pretend COVID doesn't exist. Let's live in
I
a dream
would-
world for a second.
I would spend time down in the Loop, like on Lakeshore Drive, the lake and Navy Pier and things like that. That's where, if you're in Chicago, that's where to go. You know what I mean? And the sports, the stadiums and stuff. But right down there, it's on Lakeshore Drive and by the Oak Street Beach and stuff like that. It's just amazing and beautiful. So that's what I would recommend going, or maybe a couple blues clubs.
I went to Kingston Mines when I was there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
that's-
amazing.
Derek and I would be the only white guys in there. We'd go out there, we were out coke hunting on the streets at night and shit. We'd stumble into there, be the only white cats in there. We'd end up getting up and jamming too, and you got to be pretty good to get up there and rock with those cats. Kingston
wow.
Mines, man, I haven't been there in so long. I wonder if it's still the same vibe in there, just stinky and smelly and dark and.
I remember it was unbelievably awesome because Well, we were already been pre-drinking all night by the time we got there, and a friend told me, you got to check out Kingston Mines. So get in the cab, head there. The owner's outside having a smoke with me. Oh, you're from Canada. You're from Edmonton. He starts talking about hockey, and he knows hockey like I've never heard an American know anything about hockey the way this man did. And I was just, well, Chicago Blackhawks is a big deal, right?
You call it hockey. You say, you know what you're talking about.
I know.
One sport that I never really got into was hockey, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah, Kingston Mines, it's kind of like the Rainbow or CBGBs or something like that, you know, for the blues and stuff. So, you know, really famous and a lot of roots. Like I said, haven't been in there in 25 years, you know, so I don't know what the vibe is in there. Imagine it's modernized a bit, but it was pretty seedy when we go in there and
it was
just smelled like catfish.
I was impressed it was open till 4 a.m.
That was another reason why Derek and I would end up there, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, everything else would close, and then not going to go home.
Yeah.
You know, we like to hang out, and we ended up that became one of our regular hangouts too, you know? But that's cool. I'm glad you went there.
Yeah. No, it was a good experience. Now, you seem to be really in touch with your fans through social media. I mean, your YouTube channel is really cool. I like all the videos that you're constantly creating for everybody. Is there any new tech that you refuse to use?
Is there any new what?
Any tech that you don't like to use at all that's like newer tech? Because you seem to be pretty on top of the new stuff.
I'm really not on top of the new stuff. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I just get lucky. I know this one app, you know, I learned on GarageBand, and then I moved to Logic, which is GarageBand on steroids, which you can actually use in a studio and stuff. But I get lucky with it, you know. I mean, I really don't. I'm a singer-songwriter and stuff. I'm learning to get a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, I have no use for you know, any more modern, unless they have some applications or programs that will mix for you, where you just record your tracks and it'll mix it together, which I got a couple things like that. Yeah, there's nothing, drum machines and all that stuff and loops and samples and all that shit. I have no use for any of that. And nor would I even know how to go about using it. So you know, I mean, all the modern technology, it's gone to the point of where now it's completely taking, you know, stealing everything from arts, you know, the arts and stuff like that, you know. I mean, you know, an artist doesn't have to draw anymore. You know what I mean? It's all done on the computer.
Some people don't even have to be talented anymore.
No, you don't, and they're not.
It's like, honestly.
Yeah, they can sing, but that's about it, you know.
Some can't, and they're still making records. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. I want to thank you for your time today, because it's been an absolute pleasure having this chat with you. And I want to wrap things up where we can tell people what's coming up for you right now and what we can look forward to.
Well, I've started doing this little series of things where the fans send in questions, and I'll just free flow. It's called Donnie V Uninhibited, Uncensored, and I start answering the questions, just, you know, and I'm talking just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it doesn't like that. I got an hour done, and that's all you need. And I send it off to my artist, and he puts all the little clips and stuff of what I'm talking about. So it's like mini documentaries. So I'm doing that, and working on this solo catalog deal at the same place with Enuff's Enough stuff is at. And like, I'm releasing a new single. I've been saying that for a while, but as soon as the video is done, I got a new single coming out, and there's gonna be hashtag central on that one. So that's try to get it out there. And then after that, you know, like I said, I got 15 in the can that are great. And so just whatever the powers that be put in my path, you know. But I spend a lot of time interacting with the fans, and not as much these days because I've been really busy. But you know, they come to me in PMs and stuff with a lot of personal issues, you know, that I'm familiar with so much bullshit, you know. I don't know what to do, but I know what not to do. You know what I mean? And so I talk, you know, there for these people, and they're there for me, and the fans, you know, that interaction, it's like, that's what you do this for. And they've always made it very clear to me, like some of them, that like how affected their life was by some of the stuff that I've done, and even some are like that made the difference of them not killing themselves or something like that, just to somebody could relate. And so I really love interacting with the fans, and you know, I really you know, that's a beautiful thing about the nowadays with social media. But everything else I think is just fucked up, man. It's just ruined everything that was special and wonderful about everything. And thank God there's podcasts and things like you, you know, that's closest thing to the old DJs that we have anymore. You know, this radio's non-existent, but just keep your eyes peeled if you see the name. You know, whatever that it says I'm doing, that's what I'll be doing, you know.
Good. Yeah, I'll be promoting it for you too. We'll definitely get it out there. And
thank you.
Yeah. Once again, maybe once the new stuff comes out, I can have you back on the show if you're free.
Well, if you can keep a secret, I'll send you the new songs so you can give me your opinion of what you think. If you, you know, what you think of it, as if it has what I think it has about it, and you let me know. But just
I will.
If it falls out of your pocket, you know what I mean?
Sounds great. Do that. I'd love it.
Pig and Richard Nixon will be at your door to beat the shit out of you. I'll live in Canada because I can't go into Canada anymore, so won't be any. I'm not allowed back in there. They told me you will never be in Canada again, and I did go one more time, but it was just lucky they snuck me in as I was sleeping on the bus, and we got lucky.
Just take a boat. Come up to
Take
Vancouver.
a boot.
Take a boot.
I knew a couple of guys that tried to walk through the cornfield, you know, and get past customs and stuff, and they get caught and shit. But yeah, I ruined a few search dogs where they billed me for. Somebody told me you could sprinkle red pepper and stuff on the carpet of the bus and stuff. There was no way we could clean that bus enough to go through customs with sniffer dogs. There was no way the sniffer dogs, we were going to pass that test. And so I tried that. And
it was the other way around.
What?
Coming from Canada with our weed trying to get into the States.
Well, that's because you're from there coming in this way. And I don't know why anybody would want to come here from there. It's beautiful up there, but we didn't have a huge market up there anyway. And a couple of shows that we did do up there at that time, some goofy things went wrong, and we were so loud in one club it blasted the windows out and shit. And but with the dogs, the sniffer dogs, they billed me for 2 dogs. Every penny that it went into from training those dogs to every bite of food they ate their whole lives, and they were ruined forever. Their noses will never work again, and I didn't know that. And I didn't even get to keep the dogs. You know, it was like something ridiculous, like $30,000 for 2 dogs, and they still let me in. And then on the way out, I had, because they used to sell those paracetamol with codeine in them in Canada. And on the way out, I didn't know what the limit was. I had 20 cases under the bus, you know, these giant, and that was it. They said, you will never be in Canada again. You're lucky that you're not in a Canadian prison, so I was lucky, you know. But I'll never be. It won't be me to come to your door and beat the shit out of you. But I hope you like this song.
I'll let you know. All right. Well, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your everything you had to say, and I appreciate the interview. It was an enjoyable interview. You kind of knew what you were talking about, and you asked me some cool questions that aren't just asked every time. And you know, I went and had to take a shower and everything. I didn't hear it till it was just audio until like when you were talking to me. I was like, oh, I didn't even have to shower or anything. You know, I didn't have to hook up the video or anything.
Oh no, I'm glad you did, because like what we do is like for our Patreon subscribers, they can watch the bonus video, so they can watch the whole thing.
Well, you can use it.
As long as you're cool with it.
Yeah, right. And luckily, you know, didn't get crazy on here. You know, it's like you get on Zoom. I used to have some craziness where I'd start getting a hard on just knowing I'm going on a Skype interview. You know what I mean? All that fucking. That web chatting and stuff like that, you know, I had some crazy shit going on with that, you know, but give me a call.
Yeah, no, you bet. Okay, yeah, next time it'll be crazy interview. All right,
sweetie. Thank you very much, and thanks for thinking of me, and I hope, you know, success for you, and stick with it, man, and good luck with your recordings too.
Thank you so much. All right. I'll keep in touch and see when you're ready to come back on again.
All right, thank you, sweetie.
Okay, thank you, Donnie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I wrote this song. It's called All My Favorite Things. I think you can relate, and I think you'll dig it. Check it out. Well, I just found out, and I still don't know what's all the fuss about. If the flowers grow, well, I feel alright. But I'm not okay. Why would I choose to fight? Same thing happens anyway. I love to stay up all night long, singing songs and drinking with my friends. That's girls, that's food, and smoking cigarettes. And if it's how it has to end, I guess that's just the way it goes. I won't let nothing clip my wings. I'd rather take my chances in the dark than lose all my favorite things.
What a delight to talk to Donnie. So refreshingly honest, uncensored, uninhibited. I'm thrilled to see him healthy and wonderful and happy and in a good place. Oh, great chat. Can't wait to have him on the show again sometime. Donnie V. Check him out on YouTube, where he's constantly uploading new content for the fans. YouTube.com/Donnie V official. Remember, V is VIE. Check it out. And love you, Donnie. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're getting close, guys. It's almost Christmas time. So next week, I'm going to get Kendra and our friend Lauren to come join me and talk about the best Christmas albums of the 90s. If you want to weigh in on the best Christmas albums of the 90s, make sure you hit us up on social media. I'm going to have all the links coming up for you right after I shut up and stop talking and let you guys go for another week, okay? So take care and have a wonderful week.
Follow us on Facebook at Dope Nostalgia, Instagram, Dope_Nostalgia, or on Twitter at Nostalgia Dope.
This podcast is licensed by SOCAN because we believe that artists should be paid for their work.